Hey, what's going on, guys? The big thing here is the community crafted arcade mode, which comes with a huge pile of hero changes, replay codes getting wiped, and a bunch of smaller fixes on top of that. It is one of those updates where the first thing you realize is that almost every hero has been touched in some way, so the match flow is going to feel very different right away. The idea behind Community Crafted is pretty fun on its own. Blizzard brought in four creators, Gukshow, Apply, OC, and ML7 support, and the whole mode is built around their version of what these heroes could look like if the kit got remixed in a more experimental way. So instead of one or two balance tweaks, you are getting full-on reworks, extra mobility, different utility, and in some cases, abilities that straight up behave in a totally new way. That means this patch is really less about polishing the old game and more about making players relearn a lot of familiar characters in a short window. A lot of the tank changes are the kind that instantly make you rethink positioning. Diva gets rewarded more for using Defense Matrix well because every 100 damage absorbed now adds extra self-destruct damage, and her pilot form got a nice bump, so she is not nearly as helpless when the mech pops. Doomfist is one of the clearest examples of Blizzard leaning into chaos here because Rising Uppercut is back. Power Block can empower any ability instead of just Rocket Punch, and an empowered uppercut can stun enemies. On top of that, empowered Seismic Slam slows targets, while Meteor Strike now knocks people down instead of slowing them. That is a huge shift in how he strings fights together. Then you have heroes like Mauga and Reinhardt, who got changes that make them feel way more aggressive. Mauga is no longer handing out team utility with Cardiac Overdrive. Now it is all about him. No ally support, no shared damage reduction, just a self-focused tool that turns incoming damage into healing resource and even gives him move speed when he is getting hit. Reinhardt also gets pushed harder into Brawl mode with a new Berserker passive, which ramps up his movement and attack speed as he loses health. So the lower he gets, the more dangerous he becomes. That is the kind of design that makes every close fight feel a little more reckless in a good way. There are some other tank changes that sound absolutely ridiculous in the best possible way. Orisa can now charge forward while fortified, Javelin Spin can send her upward if aimed right, and her Energy Javelin can actually help allies by healing them and giving them a speed boost. Ramatra gets a Void Barrier that lasts indefinitely until you recall it, which is one of those changes that sounds tiny until you picture the amount of space control that creates. And then there is Winston, who gets a second Jump Pack activation, which is the sort of thing that can completely change how fast he gets in and out of fights. On the damage side, Bastion is basically turning into a speed demon with configuration tank, and that alone is enough to make people pay attention. Cassidy also gets nastier because Deadeye shots pierce barriers now, and Combat Roll gives invincibility. Ash's Dynamite can stick to surfaces, which means setting up damage is cleaner and way more annoying for the other team. Sombra's rework is probably one of the more interesting ones because it pushes her back toward a real flanker identity. Hack is gone, stealth moves to a different slot, virus can be thrown without breaking stealth, and her translocator now works more like a piece of map control you actually have to manage instead of just a quick escape button. Support changes are just as dramatic. Baptiste gets one of the biggest overhauls in the whole patch, with Immortality Field moved to his ultimate, and Amplification Matrix moved to a regular ability. That changes his whole rhythm in a fight. Instead of saving the lamp for emergencies the same way every time, now his big defensive tool is much stronger but comes less often, while his damage and healing window becomes something he can use more actively. Zenyatta also gets a massive redesign that changes how you think about his orb management, since his healing and pressure tools are no longer working the same old way. It is the kind of change that will take a while to feel normal, but it definitely makes him less of a set and forget support. The patch does not stop at hero kits either. Blizzard also fixed a handful of issues, including pricing display problems, AFK timer behavior on Neon Junction, hero bans not showing correctly when the ban roll limit was reached, a Xion transformation issue, and some lighting problems that were making heroes appear brighter than intended. There was also a stadium fix tied to Ramatra's Void Barrier interaction with Ramparts. So even though the spotlight is on the giant hero experiments, there is still some practical cleanup in there too. So yeah, this update is basically Overwatch saying, let's get weird for a couple of weeks and see what happens. Some of these changes feel chaotic, some feel genuinely smart, and some are the kind of thing that will make you laugh the first time you see them happen in a real match. But either way, it is a patch that changes how the game plays instead of just nudging numbers around, and that is what makes it worth paying attention to.